What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix for Week 3 of the 2021 CFL season. I'm Ryan Coop, and this time we're talking defenses for the third week of the 2021 season. A position that so far this year can get you some pretty good points if you hit the nail on the head. It's a position typically people shy away from when it comes to CFL Fantasy. I myself did not put a defense in my lineup in week 2 because there are a lot of defenses where, for the price points they are at, I didn't think they were going to put up a great number of points. And I thought that money could be better used elsewhere, like at wide receiver, which turned out to be a disaster because very few big-name players put up big points. So I think week 3, I know I'm personally picking a defense this week, and I think there's some great options available. So let's take a quick look at what the defenses look like for week number 3. The top priced option, $5,450, is the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And normally I would say stay away for that price point, but they've proven so far this season, 11 points in week 1, 18 in week 2. They have the highest average so far out of any team on defense, and they play the Ottawa Red Blacks that got absolutely nothing going offensively in week 1 when they played the Elks. So I think there's room there, especially after what they did against the Ticats. 6 sacks, a couple forced fumbles, maybe a couple interceptions there as well. You want the teams that are going to put the sacks and turnovers up. I think the Riders are always a team that can definitely do that. I think if they can get that defensive pressure against a Red Blacks offensive line that is missing a lot of their typical starters from the last few years, I think they can get some sacks on Matt Nichols, a guy who's not necessarily a mobile quarterback. He doesn't run very much. So there's some room to, pick up some points that way. Bit cautionary on the turnovers because while Nichols isn't going to put up a ton of yardage or a ton of points necessarily in that Ottawa offense, he doesn't turn the ball over a whole ton. He's not a big interception thrower, so you won't get the easy turnover points that way for the Riders, but I think score-wise, you're picking some points up against the Red Blacks this week. I don't see them scoring a ton of points, so you'll pick up some points there. So I really like the Riders' defense for week number 3, and I'll say if I can find the room salary-wise to fit that $5,450 in my lineup, sold. I'm taking the Riders' defense if I can fit them in this week salary-wise because I think they are a great option that should be able to put you up at least 10 points, if not more, in week number 3. Going down the list, price-wise, next up is the Bombers, and they also happen to be one of the top defenses so far this year. They've given up just 13 points through 2 games. They've been putting up their fair share of turnovers and sacks as well. That defensive line of the Bombers is quite scary when you have Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeffcoat coming at you. $4,469, 16 points in week 1 against Hamilton, 11 points in week 2 against the Argos, and they play the Argos again this week. And while I expect Toronto to have maybe a bit of a bounce-back game, remains to be seen yet who starts. Is it Bethel Thompson? Is it Arbuckle? Either way, I think the quarterbacks for Toronto have to have a bit of a bounce-back day this week. So maybe a little more hesitant to go with the Bombers defense this week than I did in the previous 2. Just because, you play the same team, the other team's going to make adjustments and find ways to exploit your defense, I think, a little bit is generally the case I find in a back-to-back game. So I do still like the Bombers almost any week. Going back to 2019, they seem to put up high point totals a lot of times. They'll get you the sacks. They'll get you usually an interception or 2 a game, which is going to help you rack up the points on defense. So those are kind of 2 of the top defensive options. I like BC as a cheap, strong value play. $3,200. They play the Edmonton Elks, who have struggled to put points on the board so far this year. So far, what have these offenses done against the Elks? Well, Ottawa put up 19 in week 1. Montreal put up 8 in week 2. I think we see from BC, who had a strong week 2 against Calgary, has not given up very many points in the last 6 quarters, and has put up a lot of turnovers against Calgary. I think they can do a similar performance against the Elks in week number 3. I think Trevor Harris is still off his game. I think the receivers aren't helping him out a ton there in Edmonton, and until they break out, $3,200, if you spend that on a defense, you're not wasting a ton of space in your lineup to fit that in. So I like BC's defense against Edmonton this week. I think it's a low-priced option that could get you at least 10 points, which is their average through 2 games. So if you can get to at least 10 points for $3,200, that's a pretty good day. That will help your lineup nicely, to say the least. Moving down through the rest of the options, Montreal Alouettes defense put up 8 points against Edmonton in week 2. They come in at $3,228 and face the Calgary Stampeders. This one is intriguing to me because they had a great week against Edmonton. That defensive line got a lot of pressure on Trevor Harris. I think they could be primed for a big week against Calgary in week 3. Calgary's offense has struggled. It looks like rookie Michael O'Connor could be getting the start at quarterback for Calgary, and you wanna take a defense that feasts on them. I think so. I'm high on Montreal's defense at that price point. I am still a little bit skeptical of. We've only seen one game out of them. Is that the real Alouettes D? 2019, they were the worst passing defense in the league. So have they fully turned the corner here, or was that just a one-off to start the season? That's my only hesitancy there, but I certainly do like the matchup against Calgary, and especially if they're going against a rookie quarterback. I like that option to take the Alouettes defense at a low price point. Toronto's defense, $3,200. Not a decent start to the year. 5 points and 7 points against Calgary and Winnipeg. They play the Bombers again this week. I would expect pretty much the same from them. I don't think you're getting a ton of sacks. The Bombers have the best offensive line in the CFL, in my opinion. Zach Collaros really doesn't turn over the ball much either. I think he had one pick last week that he threw on what he thought was a free play. So maybe he doesn't throw that ball if he doesn't think there's going to be a penalty. And going back to last season with the Bombers as well, he didn't throw a lot of interceptions. He has pretty good ball security. So I don't think the Argos defense is putting up a ton against the Bombers in week number 3. So I'm staying away from them personally. I'm also staying away from Calgary's defense. $3,953 against, and 5 points against Toronto, 5 points against BC. Montreal's offense is dynamic. Vernon Adams Jr. is a great quarterback, and William Stanback is a heck of a running back, and there's so many receivers that Adams Jr. has to go to. So I think there's going to be a lot of Montreal offense in this game, and I think they're going to control the ball pretty well as well. So I'm a no on Calgary's defense for week 3. I don't think they've performed at the level that warrants it so far this season. And if the offense is going to struggle, the defense is going to be on the field quite a bit. And they could get tired as the game goes on. They could have some big struggles against a dynamic Alouettes offense. So I say no to Calgary's defense in week number 3. Edmonton's defense, I'm also saying no to them. Week 1, they got you 6 points against Ottawa. They shut Ottawa's offense down entirely in terms of point totals, pretty much, but they did not get they got a couple sacks on the board, but they didn't get really many turnovers. They also put up 0 points against Montreal in week number 2, which is a concern. Only 1 sack on the day, and they gave up 30 points. They face the BC Lions, who, if Mike O'Reilly's ready to go again, should be one of the top offenses in the league. They've proven it through 2 weeks. They have some of the best passers in the game. I like I like Riley. Even Rourke in week 1, or the combo between Rourke and Riley, put up nearly 400 passing yards. Now, yardage doesn't count against your defensive points, but I think when you get that many yards, you have the potential to get in the end zone. And with BC, I think they have a lot of great touchdown threats. I think they could, toss a couple deep balls down the field, and guys like Lucky Whitehead are going to come in and pick up touchdowns on you that way. And I think Riley's going to get the ball out of his hands pretty quickly. They're going to make sure of that. So I don't see a ton of potential for a big week from the Elks defense here this week. So I'm shying away from them as well. And then another very intriguing option to round it out is Ottawa. $3,200, 19 points against the Elks, and a huge surprise in week 1. This defense, if they can replicate that in week 2, you want that in your lineup for that cheap price. But they play the Riders offense that has put up the biggest point totals out of anybody so far this season. The most points on the board, and there's a decent difference between them and the next highest, which I believe is BC. So I think the Riders have the potential to put up a lot of points. Cody Fajardo, doesn't seem to throw a lot of interceptions. I think he's smart with how he uses the ball. I think the offensive line for the Riders has done surprisingly well through 2 weeks of the season. So are the Red Blacks going to get the sacks there? That I'm not sure. I think this one's hit and miss. You could take a chance on them to replicate that week 1 performance, but I'm just not sure that if the defense is out there on the field as much as I expect them to be due to the offense stalling, I'm not sure if I can see Ottawa's defense replicating that same week 1 performance. I think they could have a decent day, I'll say that, but I like some of the other cheap options better than them. I like the option of BC, and I like the option of Montreal as your 2 value plays at defense this week. So those are kind of your defensive options for week 3. I'm high on the Riders. I'm decently high on the Bombers defense. Those as your higher priced options, and then BC and Montreal as your lower priced options. And I think I'm staying away from any of the other defenses this week. So it often depends on how much salary you have left once you get to this position. But I think at any salary point, you have some defenses that could hit you the 10-point mark, which is what you want from that position in CFL Fantasy. So those are your options at defense for week number 3. We've already done the options at quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Check those out as well. And then make sure you check out the depth charts. Make sure you check out the injury reports as the week goes along. I'll provide updates as well, either here or over on Twitter at CooperTrooper42 as the depth charts come out later in the week, so that you make sure you get guys in the lineup that are actually going to play is the key here. So that does it for the defensive preview for week number 3. Stay tuned for more updates throughout the week on the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix. Do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you liked, what you didn't, and stay tuned for more updates as we go along through week 3 in the CFL. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.